There's not going to be like one central LLM to rule it all. There's not going to be like one agent to rule it all. What we are thinking is the LLMs are going to start specializing, or the style of the conversation with the heavy LLM is so unique compared to each one of them. One of them might be quote unquote woke, the other one might be very polite, and another one has a really good grasp on conversational. So that's going to be style. So when we kind of see that, I think our endpoint, what we're thinking is a lot of agents, even you and I could have our own agents that people interact with. So it will be a network, just like we have devices now, um, IoT devices. Everybody will have an agent, every company will have agent, will interact with them. But these agents are going to do very specific things right now, and then their functionality will increase. So that's what we see as a roadmap. But this is very interesting. The HubSpot, the founder of HubSpot, Dharmesh, created something called Agent AI. So the way they're positioning itself is like an LinkedIn for AI agent. So if you want, I've listened to the podcast with the developer or the technical person behind it. Is what they're doing is they're creating an AI agent with training it with a small LLM, and once they feel like it's robust enough, they're upgrading it to their HubSpot LLM, and then they're offering it to folks who use HubSpot, because most of it is connected to the HubSpot API, where you can do company research. You can hire it as this one-time agent or a team of agents going to do the research for you, but it's all still plugged into the HubSpot network, just like when we go to Chat GPT and look at their marketplace. It's all plugged into that LLM. So, but what's interesting is for you to go in and play around with it, because I see the future of us being able to use these tools is this is the first step to that, right? You're going to be able to hire very specific agents, connect them to the LLMs, a couple of integrations, and then you only control the input and it'll give you an output. And maybe that's taken and fed to another agent to do the next step in the process. So, what are your thoughts on that, Balaji?
Yeah, I think we discussed this even before the NVIDIA came up with their NIM-based agentic deployments and other things. I think the model, there was definitely a demand. We started with the large language models, then we went to small and even smaller, right? Very specialized,
Mhm.
and these are going to be utilized in a way that they work together to get a job done, right? So I think very early one we saw was Auto GPT. Though it was not, again, concept wise it was crazy, it was good, it's just implementation wise it was not there. But I think we are heading towards that, right? How can we fulfill this wish of having these agents going doing special tasks? What's interesting here is that I think they are showcasing what you're bringing, is that they're showcasing this one HubSpot functionality, which is related to all the business side of the use cases, right? So how can I analyze competitors in my space and other things? Why this is important is that it's evolving in some vertical, right, where they are servicing certain things, and that's where the incubation is happening. But it makes total sense. I think there's a lot of work to be done to make sure these agents are going to talk to other agents in a standardized way, right? Because that's where I'm pretty sure the fights will start, right? Like even today, Chrome and IE and Safari, they don't talk the same standard, so everybody wants their own standard, right? But hopefully
Right.
there's a like a machine to machine M2M type of a standard. The agent to agent standard evolves, right? So they all can talk to each other and get job done.
I agree, and I think if you can, I don't know if you like the competitor analyst. I want to see how that works if you can show it. But when you're doing that, the
Let's see if
key
I can.
takeaway is you have to build it. You have to build it as just a standalone on or more controlled environment. So let's go there, right? You can't just leave it out in the wild and expect it to connect to everything. But this is a great starting point, because I think the HubSpot CRM is a great platform to build on top of. It's a great feature for them to add, but it's showcasing certain things on exactly how it's going to work. And I want to show this is the agent network, right? But imagine you really had a LinkedIn for agents, where anybody, like not me, like people who are technical, can create agents. and then people like me who can just take that and implement it into their company. And the other side is there's a builders for these agents. So there's a builders network. So you can actually request, hey, by the way, I need a, just like you're doing on Fiverr and Upwork, you put in a bid to say, hey, I want an agent built for my particular use case. Can I really have somebody create one for me? And you create one for me. So it's almost like a two-sided marketplace, and I feel like it's a great place to evolve in the for this industry. So you
So
did some
in
research on,
while yeah,
yeah.
while you were talking, I was punching in Salesforce.com. Let's go evaluate. Right again, I'm giving it a known company, right? So it's fairly straightforward to come up with all the information. You can see the
A lot of their background demographics. Okay.
right, and then you can chat with the data that you have.
Oh, okay.
Right, I think you have a bunch of these. So what happens if it's a lesser known company? Again, the point being, this is pulling off of some data collection, which is HubSpot, right? So if HubSpot has it, this is going to enable it, so you can continue to converse with that data, right?
Do you think they'll
Uh,
have something like for Baiju, which is an Indian company? I just want to see, just because you made me
how do you
curious.
how do you type it?
Baiju, BYJU. Hold on, I shouldn't have said it without knowing. Baiju,
Exactly. How do you spell it out?
BYJU.
byju.com.
S.com. BYJUS.com.
Okay,
Okay. Hopefully, it's not going anywhere. That's not appropriate. Okay.
let's change the layout a little bit so we
Oh,
get
yeah, it
more in.
came up. Okay. I like
So
the table of contents. So it looks like it comes up with a whole research paper on the company because that's what HubSpot has in their database. So that's cool.
correct, correct. So it has founder information, funding data, all kind of stuff, right? So whatever HubSpot has collected, it's now just. I think it makes uh, searchability so easy nowadays, right?
Agree.
You don't have to go punch it in Google and collect all this information in different places.
I mean, to me, I feel like it's a great way for you to do some competitors research without having access to HubSpot CRM. So I think that's a good place to go. But like I think you mentioned that it might be, but you don't know how stale this data is, what they're showing for free. So it'll be good, interesting to
Correct,
see.
correct. So that's the next thing, right? So we have to. Is there a disclosure here? There is no disclosure as to what's the age of this data, right? So a lot of work need to be done in the data provenance and making sure the data is credibly sourced, and what's input into this is accurate, and it's not stale data. That's a whole world around collection and curation and quality of data and other things. So again, it's not. Again, we are seeing the useful side of things, which is the agent side of things, which is presenting the data.
Agree. I think this is also another topic I think is going to evolve. Imagine an agent who can reason really well. Imagine all the tasks you can assign. For example, if it's your grad level math homework, you can assign it and without having to hold hands and be able to solve it, right? Even if it takes 12 hours, I give it before I go out to a party and in the morning and all the homework is done. So I'm good with it.
Here's the tricky question, Rajni, when it goes to these kind of processes, right? We all get sucked into
Mhm.
this, even with ChatGPT. I mean, I use ChatGPT to figure out some HTML code because I hate HTML and CSS, so I would rather give it to ChatGPT to come up with it. But here's the thing, because I am 20 years in and I have the fairly decent knowledge of reading code, I can actually decipher what's coming back, whether there's a problem, debug, all that stuff, right? So the next generation, if they're used to throwing a question in there, getting the answer, and even when they look at the reason, um, does it get into their brains as to how this is all done, or are they just happy with the answer, just take
I
it and
see.
run with it, right? So I have this question in my mind, right? Because I have this 20 years of coding experience and building systems and whatnot, I am in a better position to look at what's coming back or inspect. And but if you start off
And
with this,
troubleshoot.
if you start off with this technology, what happens uh, down the line? When do we lose our reasoning power, right?
That is
It's
true. Are we ready?
interesting.
dumb and lazy programmers, right?
Exactly. And it's going to be very hard, even just programming wise, right? If this uh, system injects some code in there, if you don't know how to read it, or if you cannot figure out what it is injecting, uh, that's how hackers get into your system. They inject some benign code, they activate later. How is anyone going to figure out, right, when you build systems with these things? It's a
Yeah,
very
it's interesting.
tricky.
Yeah, I heard Sergey Brin, the founder of a co-founder for Google, right? He's back in the building, helping the company navigate the AI landscape. But he said he, just like you, I've done it for so long, and now he started using the tools where he's like, oh, man, it's getting me 80% there. I look at it, I don't even question it anymore because he's recommending his engineers within the Google organization start using it to become more effective, right?
Right.
But you're absolutely right. Is if you have been a developer, you're already a 10x developer. Yes, you're going to make it 100x. But if you're just starting out, is it any different than going to Stack Overflow and copying and pasting code because you're really not learning anything, right?
Right. Right. The
Maybe.
problem is that I think the key is, okay, there's a subtle difference there. Glad you brought it up. There,
Mhm,
whenever there's pain, there is something to gain, right? So when the
mhm,
process of going to Substack or code project or any of these places to get something to work, stitch it together, still is work.
mhm,
That means you're learning, right? But
mhm.
having something spit out, copy paste, and have it develop a full-on system, it's going to be very tough to learn from that. You see what I'm saying? Because it's
Absolutely.
painful. You are
Now
going
you're
through the
putting the
grunt work.
building blocks together. Got it. You see, even
So,
skipping the putting the building blocks together for you to do any learning, you just go straight to the answer.
right, right.
Makes sense. Okay, it's an interesting problem, but what also provides an opportunity. What I mean is, maybe you don't become programmers anymore. You are a QA and break this code and fix this is where your
Right.
expertise is going to go, right? So,
Correct. Even if you go along, I went that rabbit hole as well. If you are just a very good creative person in debugging, right, you still need to understand the debug, right? If even if you don't write anything at all, to read the code and decipher that logic and to troubleshoot, you have to develop that skill, right? Without that, it's going to be very tough, right? So we'll see. It's going to be interesting what kind of boot camps come up in the future generation where they go through this to learn that particular talent, to go troubleshoot AI generated code, right? Because it's not the same way as we are doing it today, because I have to put in so many years to learn all that through the process, rather than it's going to go through a different
or
learning
are you going
process.
to train an AI agent to just like what they do in crypto world, right? They give you ethical hacking. If you break our things, you come in, you test the security, we'll give you some money. So do we just now the code generation is going to be cheap, but we pay people to actually break it or hack it and test all the vulnerability, and that's where we kind of patch up, right? So it might evolve that way, but it's going to be interesting. So I think the paradigm for code development is absolutely switching, but everything else is going to become more important. So it's
Gotcha.
great. I know we have a lot more things we can cover in it, but this was great. We'll come back with some more updates in a couple of weeks around the where our reasoning friend is and how the other competitors are reacting to it, and some more other demos that I've looked at. I would love to show the team, our audience. So, with that, I'll see you guys next time.
Thanks, Rajni. See you guys.